11:30. Jeff, did you have a chance to read?
I have not, but I just actually ordered it from Amazon.
Yeah. So I wanted to, so the book this month is The Richest Man in Babylon. And it has been, when many of us write and read on LinkedIn where people write their all-time books. And it is 90% it's on 90% of most people's lists as all-time favorite books. And I had never read it. So this year, when we started the year, I put like 3 or 4 oldies but goodies in there, like we did Man's Search for Meaning, and we did How to Win Friends and Influence People, and so I included this one. So I listened to it and in the audio, and I immediately, basically the whole book, I have lots of quotes I wrote down, but the whole book is about taking 10% of everything you earn and putting it aside. Use 20% to pay your debts if you have any, and 70% to pay for your overhead. And that if you cannot fit your overhead in 70% of your income, then you need to cut your overhead to fit in 70%. And that's very interesting. So many people, some people have debts and some people don't have debts. And if you don't have debt, then you can use the 20% that you're not using to pay debt to either put in that 10% savings or increase your overhead. So I own shopping centers, and I have, money in the stock market and things like that, but I never really have like a little cash fund, because I'm always, using my money and putting it into real estate or into, investments. So upon reading this book, I'm just going to mute you guys. I started doing that. So in June, at the end of June, I took 10% of all income earned and put it into some account that I told Josie that I don't have access to. We'll see. But, and then probably I'll let it build up and then I'll invest it in a shopping center. So, but it was very interesting. And basically the whole premise is if you have this cash reserve, the freedom and the confidence and the security it brings you is powerful. So that's kind of the book in a nutshell, but I have tons of quotes I wrote down that we'll go through. And if any of you have read the book and want to speak up, I welcome it, obviously, because I don't really want this to be, Beth's cliff notes of the book. But I'll start with a few of the quotes. So I would tell you that when people reach out to me for assistance or help, the number one thing that they ask me about, bar none, is time management. And I always say, I'm not an expert time manager. I'm not a coach in time management, but I can give you some tips of what I use. And what was very interesting is one of the quotes in the book is, I'm gonna find it because I have them all. So the number one quote I wrote down from the book: "As for time, comma, all men have it in abundance." As for time, all men have it in abundance. And basically, basically the author, it goes on to say that, and I have said this before, I have read the quote, we all have the same amount of time in the day as Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, and Bill Gates, right? And so I think that that goes along with, as for time, all men have it in abundance. And it's what we do with our time that contributes to our time management and our success, right? So I always recommend, one of the things when people come to me and ask me about time management tips, I recommend what I call the exercise of torture. Does anyone know, is anyone on this call done my recommended exercise of torture? No. I'm seeing some shaking heads. Sean doesn't know about it. He's too new. I don't think Dale knows. Lee, do you know what my exercise of torture is?
No, but I'm dying to hear.
Because you want to know about an exercise of torture. Okay, so on an annual basis, and I should do it twice a year, but I always recommend when anybody comes to me and says, I need some help with time management, the first thing I suggest that they do is the exercise of torture, which is starting Monday morning at 8 a.m. and finishing Friday night at 6 p.m. You write down everything you've done in 15-minute increments. And that's why it's called the exercise of torture. And, you know, the first day, you know, you're pretty on it because it's the first day. By Tuesday afternoon, you forgot, and now you're trying to recreate. And by Wednesday, you're like making shit up. So you really, if you really, truly want to get a handle on and improve your time management, being as honest as you can with, it's, you know, called the time log, the better. And then what I recommend is after you're done, and if you don't think you can do it for 5 days, I just did an exercise with a firm I'm doing some consulting with in California, and I knew that 5 days they were going to kill me. So we did it for 3 days. So they did it for 3 days, but definitely there were some that, you know, really did it well, and some that I could tell, you know, they just forgot and they made it up at the end of the day. But if you do it fully, I promise you, every year I find when I do it 2 to 3 hours of wasted time every year. And you would think, I've literally been doing this 20 years in a row. And you would think by now I wouldn't fall into bad habits, but we fall into bad habits. And sometimes, you know, if we may be down because of COVID, or, you know, the government's going to shut our businesses down again, or, you know, you kind of get in maybe a little funk and you're like, okay, I'm just going to watch, you know, reality TV for 3 hours tonight. So that's obviously okay, right? To have times where you check out and you do stuff that you know isn't great for you, but you got to cut yourself a break. You can't be on and be ultra efficient every day, 365 days of the year. But if you are growing a business or growing your career or wanting to get to the next level, your time is the one thing you can control, your time and your work ethic. And knowing what you do during those times of the day is crucial. So when he says, as for time, all men have it in abundance, I believe what that's saying is we are in control of that, and we can watch reality TV, or we can play video games, or we can go shopping, or we can, you know, be driving from one appointment to another, and instead of, you know, call a friend to catch up instead of maybe listening to a podcast. And again, we can't be on, I'm not suggesting we should all be on 24/7. Like, I love my bi-weekly massages. I watch some stupid TV. Yesterday I was on the bike in the gym and I watched some reality TV. We all need our times also to heal and to feed our souls and just to relax. But from, you know, 8 to 6, 5 days a week, or at least 4 days a week, right? We should, I think what I find is when people send me their time logs, I usually can find 2 or 3 hours that, like, why are you doing this? So I thought that quote in this book that was written, decades ago was very interesting because I believe that to be true. And I always say we have the same amount of time as Oprah, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk. So we can definitely achieve more. The next quote that I wrote, I'm going to stop. Does anyone else have, anyone on the call read the book? Yes? Danielle?
Dale has.
Okay, so Sean and Danielle, what do you think? What did you think about the book?
Yes.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, great advice. I wish I read it when I was 20 instead of my present age.
But it's never too late, right?
That's right. I think I've followed some of the principles in the book, and I'm an attorney, so we have to account for our time in 6-minute increments. So I have torture all year long.
There you go.
Exercise.
I'm gonna now every time someone browses when I tell 15 minutes, I'm gonna go, attorneys, they have to account for every 6 minutes. So you just saved me there. I'm gonna use that, okay?
You feel free.
What was your favorite thing in the book? Is there anything in the book that you said, aha?
I thought and I don't know the exact quote because I read it electronically, so I was writing down on a separate kind of document, but I felt the concept where you should not invest in something that you don't already have expertise in was really, a pretty great concept because we have lost money doing just that. I thought that was very worthwhile. I also liked the one that said, it said something like, don't give away your money as a present. No, it was the parable about the brother who had acquired some fortune and the sister wanted her to loan it to her husband. And, that happens in everyone's life, I'm sure. So I thought that was also a really good kind of lesson to learn from.
Yes, I thought that was a great parable. That was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, the first quote about the don't invest in anything you're not an expert in. Who follows that? Warren Buffett.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, of course.
He says, and that saved me many times because people call me all the time and say, hey, I remember one person called me, and a really good friend of mine, he was in my wedding, and he's calling me, he goes, I've got 1,000 acres in North Carolina, and we're going to do this and this and this, and you should invest. And I was like, yeah. I remember saying, Keith, I don't invest in anything I don't know anything about. And that's Warren Buffett's rule, so I'm going to follow that. And they ended up losing their shirts. So I am so glad that saved me in that one time, because sometimes you get caught up, right, in some things. I'm invested in some multifamily that I'm not an expert in, but I've invested with an expert. So, and it's not a lot of money. Like I'm trying to diversify. I did it about a year ago, and I said, okay, I think this is a good diversification. I don't want to go build or buy a multifamily because I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to go give my money to this guy who's had huge success. And knock on wood, it's been a great investment. So, Dale and Sean, you guys have read the book?
Yeah, I read it decades ago. And in fact, at the time, I bought copies and gave to all my kids because I thought it was a good idea. I read it so long ago, I remember it, but I can't quote anything out of it.
Right, no problem. Well, why did you give it to your kids, Dale?
I just thought it had some good sound advice on how to structure your life and investments and how to take care of your money.
My sons, I have 19 and 17-year-old, and the 19-year-old works at the Lego store, and he came home like the first week and he said, what is this 401 thing? I said, that's something that you need to put your money in. I said, put $50 a paycheck and they're going to match it up to 50%. He goes, like for nothing? I go, yeah, free money. He goes, okay, I'm all about that. And I said, and if you never look at it again until you're about 6, and then we did the compounding chart I found on the internet. And I said, look, if you never think about it again, you know, and you save, and I showed him 2 charts of, this is how much if you do it starting at 19, and this is how much you do it at 25. And the difference of those 6 years like blew him away. And now my little one, 17-year-old, just started at Burger King, and he hasn't even got his first check yet. And I said, have they told you about the 401k yet? And he said, no, they talked about a manager or something or another. I go, well, let's bring that home and let's see. And I told him, they give you free money. He goes, free money? So I'm going to show him the compounding chart too. I mean, Danielle, we all wished we would. I remember people telling me to save, you know, the 10% off the top of your check or your earnings. And when I was at companies that did that, I always did the 401k, but I always had this, when I had debt in another part of my life, I always felt, well, why should I save when I have debt? You know, like that doesn't make sense. And and this book really kind of, you know, it put a different spin on that. So I liked that about this book. You know, it doesn't matter if you have debt, definitely pay off your debt every month. And I have some people in my life that have debt, and I have been talking to them about this. You know, put some in savings, put some in debt, and then keep your overhead at, you know, 70%. Sean, what about you?
Yeah, for me, this was like an interesting challenge, this book, because I'm not used to reading like a fictional story. So that made it a little interesting because I'm always reading nonfiction. Yeah. So it was harder to get into, but I challenged myself. It was a good challenge. As far as what was the main takeaway I got was similar to what you just said, Beth, which is kind of the idea that time and income, like, are precious things. And if we leave a void, like, they're pretty much going to be filled up by whatever distracts us or whatever is the thing at the moment. I always think of, like, when I'm going to Best Buy and about to check out an item, there's that line, you know, that you go through with the impulse buys. It's similar at Office Depot and all these places, like candy bars, everything. And I always get something, and I'm thinking, if I had a mindset of just what I'm coming in for, I'll more likely not spend it. So I like your idea of the time log too. Like, it's like cramming for an exam. Like, right before you have a test, if you have that certain amount of time, you're more likely to get it done, because even though it's bad that you're cramming, you at least have that definitive time. If you spread it out over a long period of time, like, you're not as, you know, you're less likely to do it. So I guess I like the idea of having it compartmentalized. So I'm going to try your challenge of the time log, because I've never done it. And it seems like something that would be an eye opener of, like, maybe where areas I'm wasting time, because we're so distracted nowadays with our cell phones and so many other things. So, and what's really helped me actually is these apps. I don't know if you have it, Beth, or anyone on the call, but those apps, like, I use Digit, which is really great at just automatically saving based on what you're making as far as in your account. And it's been really helpful for me as far as just set it and forget it, and you don't even think about it.
Oh, I'll have to check into that. Yeah, you know, there's a book called, I think it's called The 90-Day Year, or like the 3-month year. And it's all about, instead of thinking you have 12 months, think about it in quarters. And you have 3 months of a quarter. And you set your goals for the 3 months. And because of that, the whole concept is, how much do you get done when you know you're getting ready to go away on vacation? That week before vacation, you get so much done. And this book talks about that when you have a deadline, you're very focused, you're very organized. And I have a friend, Chris Ressa, with DLC in the Northeast, and he, for one whole year, ran his leasing teams based on this guy's book, and doing it on a quarterly basis, not setting goals for the year, like we're going to do 25 deals in a year, but everyone's going to do 4 deals in this quarter, like 1 deal a month, and focused on that. And, you know, and then Stephen Covey in the 7 Highly Effective Habits for whatever that title is. He taught, yeah.
I read that book before, and the one thing I found about it is that, especially in my business, which takes so long for anything to happen, is that I find that I'm closing stuff that from the past, you know, no matter what I plan for the next 3 months, those aren't the things I close, are the ones that were from the previous 3 months, you know. But one thing I didn't mention about the other book is I have 6 kids. 4 of them are retired now, and I'm still working. So they paid attention to the end of the book, and I didn't.
Well, I think you like to work, Dale. So, you know, it's a difference between wanting or having to, right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you how many of the kids read the book?
I'm assuming all of them did. I know at that time we discussed it, but like I said, that book is very old. That book has been around for a long time.
No, I know. I said, you know, we have 3 oldies this year. You know, we're always reading what's the latest, hottest book, right? But this year I said we're going to read some, because whenever, I don't know if you heard me at the beginning, whenever on LinkedIn someone says, you know, what is your favorite top 10 books? This book is always in there. And I'm like, we got to have this book in the book club. I had never even heard of the book. So, but in the Stephen Covey book, he talks about urgent versus important, and how crucial it is that in your daily things to do lists is to have important things. And I try, every night I try to say, what are the three most important things I need to do tomorrow? And they're never the 3 most urgent, because the urgent ones you get done. You know, like I had to go get a COVID test today because I'm going to the Bahamas next Thursday on a quasi-work fun trip. And I had to get a positive COVID results in less than 7 days from the trip. So I had to go do it today, and I had to go to a place that gave me the results in 24 hours. Well, that wasn't in my top 3 things I had to do today, because I knew that come hell or high water, I had to do that this morning. So instead, I have 3 things that will move the ball ahead on 3 deals that I'm working on that I haven't heard from them. They're radio silent. You know, I'm trying to move the ball ahead on deals that are very important, but they're not urgent. They could easily be procrastinated away. And that's why it's so important to have good time management skills, so that we all, especially in the times we're in now, can fill our day with reacting to the pressures or to the events. You know, like the minute we get, you know, the minute Broward County, which is where we live, or I live, the minute we hear that they're closing us down again, I'm going to have 3 hours of calling all my tenants or taking the tenants' calls or going to visit my tenants. So I know that I will have a reactionary, that's going to happen. So I want to make sure that these other things I need to be doing, because that's coming, I'm guessing, in the next week. So I'm thinking when that hits, I'm going to lose 3 hours of my day. So what is important and not urgent? Here's another quote I wrote down. Willpower is but the unflinching purpose to carry the task you set for yourself to fulfillment. Willpower is but the unflinching purpose to carry the task you set for yourself to fulfillment. How hard is it to have willpower for certain things? Danielle, is it easy for you to have willpower?
Yeah, I think as I've gotten older, it's gotten easier. Obviously, when you're younger, you're a little bit more maybe frivolous with both your spending and your time. And I think as you get older, you do get a little bit more determined, you know, in terms of how you want your career to go, what you're defining as success, both professionally and for your family. So I think, you know, I mean, obviously having that determination, like Dale, still working, you know, just having that desire to continue to succeed. It's just a huge part of what I think everybody, you know, does that's going to thrive in their respective fields. So yeah, I think that area I'm probably doing better on.
Well, I need to come to you for advice on that. Sean, how about you? Willpower.
Willpower is tough. Yeah, it's tough to keep that motivation going. But I actually remember a book that you talked about, that's Selling the Invisible.
Yes.
I know it's an older book too. So I'm actually a fan that you're doing some of these older books, because I remember one of the things I got from that was he mentioned, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but I remember, and I wasn't even on the call, but I just listened to it. But I remember him saying, like, even if you don't have the perfect idea, or it's not something that you think is some brilliant idea, put your full passion behind it and efforts. Because I remember I stuck with that, because that stuck with me, because I'm thinking that's behind the willpower. A lot of times we don't think it's good enough an idea. We don't think like we can accomplish it. But if we do it with all of our passion and all of our might, you know, we can really do great things. It doesn't have to be a brilliant idea.
For sure, for sure. I'm doing, don't ask me why I'm doing this, but I committed 16 days ago to do the calendar challenge, which is riding a bike per mile of each day of the month. So yesterday I rode 16 miles. The day before yesterday, so I've been breaking it up. So like during the 10-mile day, I did 5 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon, and then 11, 12, 13. So I've been breaking them up. So it has not been an issue. And my son and I committed to doing it together. He's done it 13 of the 16 days. But on the 15th, I had a dinner engagement. So I knew I was not going to be able to do it at night. And we've only been biking outside. So on the 15th, the morning of the 15th, we left the house and he was with me, and we left at 7:30 in the morning, and we got back at about 9:40. And on that bike ride, I got nauseous like 3 or 4 times. I started to get worried. And when I got home, I, was putting ice on my head and ice under my armpits, and I took a cold shower, and I was shaky the whole day. And I'm like Googling, heat stroke, right? And I'm thinking, what the heck? Why am I doing this? This is like so silly. And then even yesterday, I didn't feel good. I just felt a little off. But then I talked to a friend, and he's like, don't give up. You can't give up, but you got to be healthy, right? So people were saying, eat bananas and drink Gatorade and have protein. So yesterday morning, on the 16th day, right? Yeah, today's the 17th. I did what when I got home from work around 4:30, I was feeling pretty good. I had, fed myself with nutrients, and I said, okay. And then someone said, because of the heat, it's so hot outside down here. So I found a gym near my house that I could do a membership for a month for $65, cheap, and that they had bikes. So I rode my bike to the gym, which was 2 miles. I then rode in the gym on the bike, the 12 miles, and then rode home 2 miles and got my 16. And I was so happy, but for like literally that from 10 o'clock the morning of the 15th till yesterday at 4, I was like, am I going to keep doing this? Do I have the willpower to do it? Why am I doing this? All this stuff. And I have to be healthy, right? Health should come first. And so, but I was really, really happy. And I got input from other people and encouragement and other people holding me accountable, but making sure I'm doing it healthy. So, so it was great. And I realized that it was really easy to do the bike in the gym. So coming up with different ways to fulfill your commitments, if one way doesn't work, coming up with different ideas. And, one of the quotes, which I loved also in the book, was, it costs nothing to ask wise advice from a good friend. It costs nothing to ask wise advice from a good friend. And that's what I did yesterday, because I didn't want to give up. I made this commitment. I put it on social media. I really want to finish it. I really, really, really want to finish it, but I also, need to make sure I'm careful. And it was great. And so one of my other friends said, you should go ride the bike in the gym in the air condition. And it was like, of course, but I hadn't thought about that. So, yeah, so it's willpower though. But let me tell you, Danielle, I have a problem with willpower with snacks. So maybe my next challenge will be something to do with snacks.
Well, I'm sure riding 16 miles in one day allows you to have some snacks.
You know, you'd think people are like, you must be losing weight. I'm like, I'm not. So, yeah, maybe it'll be accumulation. So here is some other quotes I wrote down. In those things towards which we exerted our best endeavors, we succeed. You know, so again, giving our best and our all will be successful. You know, and not half-assing it, right? We're not going to be successful if we half-ass something, ever. So I think that we need to commit to the endeavor. And if we're not willing to commit to the endeavor, then give it up, right? Then why try to do something half-assed? Jeff, any thoughts on what we're talking about? He probably walked away from his computer. Who is 904 and 770? So we've got like a Jacksonville listener and we have an Atlanta listener. Any of you guys want to speak up?
I'm just listening. I joined a little late from 7.
Who is that?
Nancy, I decided to visit with you today. Thank you.
Any thoughts? Oh, is that Teresa? You're 904. Did you read the book, Teresa? She's not speaking. She's not unmuting herself. She's just listening. Nancy, any thoughts as to time management or asking advice of friends or focus and willpower? Lee Landcourt, what about you? How about willpower? When?
Not so good. I've added the COVID-19 in pounds.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
And I was on Weight Watchers and doing very well before it hit. So I have to get back on track.
Yeah, me too. No kidding. Okay, Teresa, I unmuted you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Did you read the book?
I did not. I really want to. I really want to. But on the willpower side, I find I drive myself crazy from the standpoint of, you know, I have obviously my list of items that I need to get to, and yet I still push away from the items I know I need to go to. It's a crazy human reality for me that, you know, I'm constantly have to push myself through.
Have you ever tried to have an accountability partner on those three, like those things that you push yourself away from doing?
I do practice that on some occasion, and definitely keep that in mind, knowing that is going to force the push when I'm not just hiding from myself.
Right, because when we're the decision makers on should we move forward or not, it's an easy, should I have that chocolate cake or should I go biking 17 miles? I think I'm gonna have the chocolate cake. Like yesterday when—
You know what, I'm sorry to interrupt, I'm even talking about the crazy willpower it is to stick with your list that you're working through of your work list. Not to mention, you know, the fun things, certainly those food things, but, you know, I'm looking at the fact, like, I need to get that purchase and sale agreement back out, but let me first do this thing that I know is so not as important. Like, no, I have got to work on the purchase and sale agreement. And it's funny to me that it's a fight of continuing to even have a conversation in my head about.
Right, yeah, and you know what that is. So, well, for me, so, you know, some of you know that I subscribe to the Predictive Index, And the predictive index is a survey that you can take, and it tells you how focused you are, how late or versus laid back, how if you're extroverted or introverted, if you have a high sense of urgency or you're patient, and if you're detailed or not. And I am not detailed. So every time like someone sends me an LOI and it's literally 5 or 7 pages, I just roll my eyes and think, oh my God, I have to go through this. And and it's so important. It should be the top of my list that I look at this LOI, mark it up, and get it back out fast. And I will procrastinate with that terribly, like 3 days sometimes, which it should be the #1 thing I work on. But because I hate detail, so that's knowing that of yourself. And like, I have a girlfriend who she's a CPA and an accountant, and we ran a business together for a short time. And I said, you got to reach out to these 10 people and see if they need our services. And she would put it off and put it off and put it off. And then I realized she's an introvert, I'm an extrovert. Let me make those 10 phone calls. She's never going to get around to doing it because it's just not in her natural, desire and ability to do it. So for you, the purchase and sale agreement, do you think you like detail or do you avoid doing detail?
I like you. I like to avoid the detail. I'll make those calls all day long.
Right. So for me, if it's like I had an LOI yesterday, but it was like on the final version, and we got it the night before last, and I literally got it out like by 10 a.m. yesterday. I was so proud of myself, but it was mostly already negotiated, so I can't give myself too much credit. But if I can, what I do, if I get like, a national tenant, I'll send it to my attorney and pay him to do it, because I know he'll do it. And like, Danielle, you probably love doing that stuff, right? You love digging in the detail. She's like nodding. Yeah, that's my jam, right?
A part of doing this book club was for me to overcome some introversion. So I am all detail, totally opposite. And which is probably why I went into law like your attorney did, and you guys went into what you do and you're so good at.
Right, and that's the thing is, right, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and with this consulting gig I'm doing in California, that's one of the things, we're going to work on. If we've got, one deal maker that is off the charts extrovert and one that is maybe a little more introverted, maybe creating teams so that we are looking at strengths and weaknesses and putting, teams together versus having 2 people that are, the most ambitious, focused people in the company, and we're wondering why are they butting heads, right? So, but sometimes when I'm buying a shopping center, Teresa, I have to be the one to look at that PSA. I avoid it too, but what I do sometimes is I trick myself. There's this, I'll put a timer on my phone and I'll say, I'm going to shut my door, and for 20 minutes, I'm going to start looking at this PSA, because I can do anything for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to go take a walk. Well, what happens by 20 minutes is I'm almost done, and then I'll just finish it, and it's another 20 minutes, and I'll be done. So I trick myself that little thing, and it works for me, because, I hate doing it, but I can do anything for 20 minutes. Okay.
With you 1,000%.
Yeah, well, you better do that before I see you next week on Thursday.
I will.
Okay, so here's some other quotes. I liked this one. The hungrier one becomes, the clearer one's mind works. Also, the more sensitive one becomes to the odors of food. So the hungrier one becomes, the clearer one's mind works. And also the more sensitive one becomes to the odors of food. What do you guys think he meant by that? Hunger in the belly. People say, what do you look for when you hire leasing agents? Hunger in the belly, fire in the belly.
I think for me, what it is, it's when you have hunger, you're more driven and focused like towards a goal. So if you have hunger, the reason why your mind's clear is because you don't have all of those distractions. It's like you're going straight laser focused ahead. Because what I find is when you don't have a goal, you're ending up just real scattered in your mind. And when I'm scattered and I'm thinking about a lot of different things, that's when it's end game for me. I'm just totally all over, and I don't feel like I'm getting a lot done. It's like I'm in the mud.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that when we're fat and happy, right? We've made a bunch of money, things are going well, you get loosey-goosey, you know, oh really, we have 4 Netflix accounts? How'd that happen? Like, anyone ever have that, right? You know, money's flowing, and then all of a sudden when, you know, the economy shifts, or, you know, you lose some accounts because businesses are shutting down, and now you're like, okay, I need to focus. I need to like really double down and check this stuff. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're not fat and happy anymore. You're hungrier, and you're thinking, and you're being more creative. Like, let me call those 3 people that reached out to me for services, but I didn't follow up because I was fat and happy. And when you're hungry, you're more like laser focused, right? Like, I can call this person and drum up some business, or, you know, during COVID. So part of what I do is I travel around the country and I teach, training, and I usually go to business corporate headquarters. And obviously without travel, I can't do that. So I had to create a whole online virtual training business, and that would have never, and people have been saying to me for a long time, where's Beth 2.0? Where's training 2.0? And I'm like, nah, I don't need to do that. Because I was very busy and had a lot of trips booked. So why did I need to come up with Beth 2.0? And then all of a sudden, all those trips get canceled, and you're looking at, wow, I thought I was going to have this income, and now I'm not going to have this income. You become very laser focused, and you become hungry. And out of hunger, your mind becomes clearer, and it works better. So, and I think we're seeing a lot of that with retailers too, where you are, you know, you have retailers. I've got a sub guy who's, again, fat and happy, 9 locations, printing money, doing great. And all of a sudden, dining room's closed, can't really take, you know, can't have 100 phone orders every hour, and had to rapidly create an app and adapt to our new world. And now they're doing great. But again, probably would have never created the app had COVID not happened. So, when we are hungry, our mind becomes clearer. I thought that was great.
If there are any upsides at times like this, like after the real estate recession or what we're seeing now, it is that you have that time to focus on maybe what does need to be strengthened. You know, COVID is really great at kind of highlighting your strengths and exposing your weaknesses. And so it is nice to take the time to just figure out what you need to fix in your own practice or your own industry, or like you said, for your sub person or for yourself. We've always said in practicing law, it can sometimes be feast or famine. Sometimes you're so busy that you don't have the time to figure out how you're going to client develop because you have too many clients, which is a great thing, but it never really lasts. You can come to a situation like now where you do have to kind of reinvent yourself. And I do think being hungry in that sense of the word is a really good thing. It makes you a better person at the end of the day and makes you better at what you do, and innovation does come out of it. So I think he was spot on. And I think for all of us, it's easy to focus on the negatives of what's going on now, but there's also a lot of positives that come out of this time period. And I think we're all, you know, can benefit from that if we really focus on it.
100%. I mean, you know, in 09, after 09 created Uber. You know, 09 created a lot of businesses. So I think, you know, they're saying we're going to have a lot of babies, a lot of divorces, and a lot of new businesses.
Exactly, a lot of new ideas.
I posted a cartoon I saw today, I think in the Wall Street Journal or the Miami Herald, and it said, it was a picture of chaos in a house, chaos. And the mom and the dad and the two kids, and they're homeschooling. And I think the mom said to the dad, didn't we buy this house because of this school district? Like, yeah. But yes, I think there will be, Danielle, a lot of innovation that comes out of this, for sure.
There's a new virtual platform, I don't know if any of you have been on it, where when you're on a call like this, your avatars, and it kind of functions as a cocktail party. So you can move your avatar, and as you get closer to a cluster of people, you can join in their conversation and they pop up. And it was created by, I think, teenage boys that were home during COVID that just had time to come up with this. So you're seeing a lot of really interesting things come out of this.
What is that called? Is that called House Party or something?
I don't exactly remember the name, although I saw it yesterday virtually, but I can get back to you with the name.
Yeah, I actually, there was an article I read a couple of days ago that talked about this new thing, and I skimmed the article, and I'm thinking that must be it, but I'd love, will you email me the name, or that would,
yeah, we had a virtual cocktail party for our summer associates, and it was a huge hit. So it's interesting how things like that can come out times like this.
Exactly. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Another quote. I'm trying to find a good one here. Hold on. Well, he says, there's a quote, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. And he says you should say that 50 times a day. A part of all I earn is mine to keep. You know, we give it away to, you know, we give it away to our overhead, we give it away to our debtors, we give it away to friends, and everyone should be putting something of everything they earn away. This was one of my favorites. I actually put this today on Instagram on a quote. Men of action, or women, or people of action, are favored by the goddesses of luck. I just love that. That's so true, right? How many people do we know that sit around and talk about stuff and don't take action, and then they wonder why they're not lucky? So, and then they say, and then another quote right after that was, proper preparation is the key to our success. My ex-husband used to have a quote, prior proper preparation prevents poor performance. I said, say that 6 times, to say that 3 times fast. But I like the men of action are favored by the goddesses of luck. Have you guys, has anyone had an experience that you got lucky based on action? Nancy? Or Jeff? Teresa?
Thanks for calling on me. I think just kind of in general in my life and my work, and I would think everybody would say this. You keep going to bat. You keep going to bat. And I keep going to bat. I don't give up. I'm moving forward, and it happens. And I look back in the rearview mirror and go, how the heck did that happen? And I just didn't give up. Just didn't give up. Now, that having been said, of course, there's a point where there's some rabbit holes that is truly a rabbit hole, but you figure that out to a point where you change your path and you figure out your next way. So, you know, the action is always up for editing, but it's always got to be forward, and you will make it happen.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Another quote says, good luck can be enticed by accepting opportunity. Good luck can be enticed by accepting opportunity. You know, one of the books in the book club, I don't think it was this year, I think it was last year, is The Year of Saying Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And how Danielle, she was an introvert. She never went out. She got invited. Shonda Rhimes is the writer and producer and director of Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice and all of these shows, Scandal. And she would get invited to the White House and she would never go because she was, I'm an introvert and I don't like to do that. And her sister at one Thanksgiving Day said, you know, you never say yes. And, you know, sisters, right? We can challenge each other. And she said, I'm going to do a year of saying yes. And she like agreed to do the commencement address at her alma mater. And she said she was like throwing up in the bathroom before, right? But she said that because of that year of saying yes, she had so many opportunities. Like she had a favorite show. I'm not sure if it was 30 Rock or some really favorite show that she loved. And she got to do a walk-on part. And she said before the year of saying yes, she would have never done it. So, you know, good luck can be enticed by accepting opportunity. So true. All right, so it's 12:21. I always tell you guys I'll let you go in 50 minutes. So next month's book, I'm in the middle of it. I'm listening it to while I'm riding my bike, is Little Black Stretchy Pants, the founder of Lululemon. So we're going back to retail. And I'm about 40% of the way in. Very interesting. So he, early on in his book, he said, the readers that listen to the recording and you guys, he said he had read 95 self-development books. And he says, I can sum them all up in 4 books. So I'm not going to tell you what those 4 books are. You need to read or listen to the book or join the call next month to find out what Chip, the author and the founder of Lululemon, believes are the 4 books that sum up 95 self-development books he read. So that will be next month. Let me see, I'll give you the date, or you can just find it on Azor Academy. But while you guys are on here, I will tell you the date of the next book club. August, bear with me, sorry, I should have written this down in advance. And thanks you guys for being here today. It is, you can tell Josie's on vacation. So talk about action. She put on her bucket list to buy an RV. She bought it back in, I think, January before the big price increase. Good for her. And they're traveling around the country for a month. Okay, Little Black Stretchy Pants, Chip Wilson, August 21st. Oh, and then the one after that is another oldie, The Alchemist. Never read that. That's one of those oldies. All right, guys.
I love that book.
Yeah, I've never read it.
Love it.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for joining. Have a great week and month, and I'll see you next month.